This is the Power BI Core Visuals Vision Board, and it's awesome. It has so many cool features, but the thing that I like the most is the navigation and how clean it is. This looks really awesome, and I actually made an hour-and-a-half video detailing how to make this, but the most common comments was that it's really awesome, but I think I'll never put the same amount of effort into workarounds, or I give up after an hour because there's too many bookmarks to maintain. The good news is that after the May update for the Power BI version, we can actually make this with one single visual. So I can do something like this, and basically it has very similar effects to what we actually had in the previous version, but this takes, honestly like 10-15 minutes to make, which we're going to do together in this video. And it's just one visual, so you don't have to deal with the 900 bookmarks that I actually had to have in order to actually make all of these different things happen in the old version. Now, it's not honestly as good, because if you select one of the, it's like actual navigation buttons, you'll see that this is selected by default. But if you use the new version, what happens is that if you select something, it doesn't force a selection in the other slicers. This can be a little bit of a problem because you choose an option and nothing's selected and everything appears blank. But with the new filter options that are going to come in the next couple of months, we'll be able to overcome this too. So you'll be able to select something and it will force select a specific object, which is going to be really nice. And you'll be able to make this entire navigation in honestly a couple of minutes. So let's make this right now together. Basically, all of the files that you're going to need are going to be in my GitHub, which was in the description of my previous video as well. But the main thing is that I'm actually going to change the core visuals board data so that it has the additional things that we need, and you might need to make a couple more measures. But other than that, you'll be right as rain if you just follow along with this initial part. And then if you want to build the rest of the actual core visuals vision board, you can go check out the actual full hour-and-a-half tutorial if you'd like. It's still pretty awesome in my opinion. Okay, so the first thing that we have to do is we have to realize that the way that it was built initially was that all of these individual items are individual buttons. That's why we can add, it's like tooltips to every single button, but also the individual state is being decided by bookmarks. So a specific bookmark might have, let's just take a look at the different selections. So if we look at all of these different things, we'll see that right now we're in call out visuals. So I'll select like the call out visuals card, for example, and then I'll have the call out visuals gauge. And you can see that some things are being hidden and some things are being unhidden as I'm selecting these different items. Or if I go to Cartesian labels, it's actually taking me to a different page. So it just lift me up here just a sec. So you can see that if I click on this bookmark, I'm on the call out visuals, but if I click on this Cartesian section, I'm in the Cartesians area. So those are actually two different pages, and that's how, the different color coding is, it's like happening. But we don't need multiple pages anymore. We can just do it in one go. So this is actually going to be, okay, let's get rid of all of those. It's actually going to be the new list slicer. So in the May, okay, let me just put myself back down. In the May version of the update, so you're going to have this specific version, so the one that's published at least after the 18th of May in 2025, otherwise you won't be able to do this. But now the list slicer has a really interesting thing, which is images and advanced settings for, it's like states. This is actually the only two things that you really need in order to get all of this out there. But of course, you need to get some of the images. So let's take a close look. So you can see that this is an image, and if I hover over it, it even animates. If I hover over the Cartesians, you can see that it's animating too. And if I select this, then the Cartesians is blue and, the call out visuals is black. So we need three different images to pull this off. Now, of course, you can totally skip the, it's like animation if you want. You don't really need that. I just thought it'd be nice to add. The place that I got all of these is from Animated Icons. This is a place that offers a couple of free, it's like icons, and I really like using this because you can select any specific icon and you can choose to, hang on, let's see if I can show you. So I've got this icon and you can set the colors as you like. And you can set the stroke width, it's like, and you can make it normal or gray tone or whatever you like. It's really nice, and you can download it as a PNG or a GIF. If you download it as a PNG or a GIF, you might still need to change it to a base 64 image. I've been using this website, basically since I found out about it. And the reason that I use this is because you can basically just drop images in. And what that's going to do is it's going to basically just create. Okay, I think that's the exact same one that I just dropped in. So I can drop this in and I can literally click copy image. And this is going to give me a little bit of text inside of my clipboard. I can literally put it inside of a measure and it's simply going to work inside of here. I can even put it inside of my, what's the best way to put it? Inside of my data model, which is what I have done. So you can actually see that the data model has, two new columns as compared to the initial video that I made, where callout visuals and Cartesians now have two base 64 images. It's literally just as simple as clicking copy image and pasting into, it's like the file. So that's what I've done. But you'll also see that I have a couple of other, it's like measures, the callout GIF and the multi-cluster GIF. The reason I have these two is because, well, if you actually try to, convert a GIF into a base 64, what's going to happen is that it's going to be way too large. So if you put it into your semantic model and that's just loaded directly into your Power BI reports, it's actually not going to work, because if you just take a look when I'm scrolling down, that is a lot of characters, and Power Query is just not having that. And a quick, it's like way around that is, of course, just to use your measures, and which can store a lot more characters. And because of that, now I have, the callout GIF and the multi-cluster GIF. It's like, and these two GIFs are just going to be stored inside of the actual measures. And I have a very, very simple measure that's going to say, look, if the milestones info, if this is called Cartesians, give me this one, otherwise give me that one. And that is all that we need in order to make this visual. So we're going to just go ahead and make it. Okay, so let's maybe just start completely fresh. We're going to delete this and we're going to just put in a new list slicer. So we'll put that in. The first thing that I'm going to do, and you might not need to do this if you don't have another slicer, is I'm going to select my other slicer, edit interactions, and I'm going to make sure that it's not it's like interacting with my new list slicer. And that the main reason for that is because the epic is a lower level than my actual slicers, so I really don't want that. From my dataset, I'm going to take milestones info category first. Category is the callout visuals or Cartesians. That's the highest level. And then underneath that is the feature. So if I open these up, you can see that the callout values has a card and a gauge, and the Cartesians has axes, labels, legends, miscellaneous, etc. And this is, consistent with what we are expecting in, it's like our original. So let's just hold on to that. So once we have this, I'm going to filter out blank categories. There are, it's like this data set isn't necessarily complete. This is something that I was actually given by Miguel Myers, who is the program manager for Power BI Core Visuals. He's the one who made this report, and it's pretty awesome that they were willing to share this kind of stuff. So let's immediately get into formatting. We're going to take out the title first. We don't really need that. And for these expand collapse icon, that's this up down arrow. Well, it's not down here, but this arrow, we're going to say that for feature, it's just going to be, it's like invisible, because the feature doesn't have anything. We don't actually need to move that. But for category, what we're going to do is we are going to, with the idea that the state is at all, go into layout, position it to your right. And I think it looks a little bit better. If you position it to your right, what's going to happen is that you are going to be able to see that it goes up and down. Whereas if you position it to your left, it's down and to the side. And I think it, makes a little bit more sense if it's to the, it's like right. And yeah, that's basically all you need to do to it. We're also going to go into our slicer settings, click on force selection, because what we want to do is we want to make sure that basically only one specific item is being selected, but also when you open up the report, something should always be selected. Let's go into layout, and inside of layout, right now there's a fixed number of buttons shown. So you can turn this off if you want, and we can say like max number of buttons should be 10. Fixed number of buttons shown. So you might not be able to read all of this. So you can just make format pane a little bit bigger. Fixed number of buttons. This basically means that, it's like it will limit the number of buttons that are being shown. You can turn this off if you want, and then the max number of buttons can be, it's like a specific number. But if you have a fixed number of buttons, and let's say you have 4 buttons, it's always going to show 4 no matter what. Unless of course it's like hide, it's like different visuals. But in my opinion, I think it's fine either way. It's like I'm just turning off fixed number of buttons. The max number of buttons that can be shown is 10. And this is also really important because if you have the fixed number of buttons turned off, now the 4 buttons are going to take up all of the space. So in my opinion, keeping this on is a little bit better because then all of the buttons are going to stay the same size. And I think that's important. Oh, sorry. Okay, so once we've done that, okay, so you can also, reverse indentation, increase the indentation, and then indent the button container. I'm not 100% sure what that one does, to be honest, but we will keep it like this for now. And of course you can, put some space between the buttons if you want as well. So we have all of this, and this is a pretty good place for us to be. We're going to click on the selection icon, and the selection icon for the category, we're simply going to turn off because we don't need the, it's like these buttons. And instead we're going to have actual images. These buttons we are going to keep. So, it's like hold on to that. And I'm going to show you the different, it's like color measures that we're going to use. We have a background color. This basically means that if the milestones info category, so the category that we're actually using here, if that is called Cartesians, it's going to be a light blue, and otherwise if it's called callout visuals, it's going to be a dark blue. And we're going to be able to see it right now in the selection icon. You can go to like feature, and here inside of the conditional formatting, what I'm going to do is click on the field value and select this color to be blue. So that's the first thing. So now you can see that these items are, it's like blue, but these items are light blue. I guess that's a dark blue and this is a light blue. And that's going to be, it's like nice for us because we're going to be able to get this lovely effect of having different styled colors. And once you've done that, one thing that you're going to want to do is click on state and go to selected. So selected is going to be this specific color and unselected is going to be gray. If you want to do that, then for selected, you should actually make it be this specific color in your conditional formatting. And in unselected or rest, you should just make it a gray, maybe a darker gray. And this is interesting because now you can see that on hover, it's also changing the color. And if I select a specific item, the selected item is that specific color. And that's kind of what we want it to be. And I think that's pretty nice. After this, let's go and make, it's like finish the feature section. So inside of the buttons, if you open up the buttons panel and we go on series for feature, let's go to hover as the state. Now on hover, we want the background color to be on. So let's go to fill, and we're going to make sure that the border color is going to be the field value for background. So the background color, this specific measure uses the same logic as the color, but it's just using a lighter shade of each of these colors. So now you can see that when you hover over these, you can actually see what it looks like. We'll also make sure that on selection, on the state selected, you also have the same color. Now, it's a little bit annoying that you do have to set the color for each of the states. Okay, that's the wrong color. That was not the background color, that's the actual color. So now you can see that if I do this, it's really nice because I can see that, it's like if something's being selected or not. And this is this is pretty close to the actual, it's like effect that we want to have here. But if we want to, it's like have the exact same effect where we can see that here on hover, the color is slightly different, we can do that as well. So let's go to our actual measuring it. Now, personally, I'm going to say I prefer this. I think this is a little bit more subtle, but if we wanted to do exactly the same, so on hover, we will change that color to be the actual color itself. And then we just need to make sure that we change the text. So you see that the legend right now, this is slightly different. So let's find the call out values. And for the feature on hover, we want the values to be white. So now it goes like this. I think it's worth noting that if you want this to happen as well, on hover, this is where it starts to get a little bit, it's like weird, because now even though I'm hovering over this, it's changing it to white. I don't necessarily want that to happen because labels is already selected. Then what you can do is you can click on advanced. So if you click on advanced for, it's like apply settings to, then you have multiple different states. So the selection state being selected, interaction state hover. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to just set the color to be black. And that means that even though other items are going to change, so that are not selected, are going to change into white on hover, the actual selected item will not. Now this will override the all like the previous it's like state that I had, but this can start to get very, very confusing very quickly. So just remember, the selection state means that on the state that it currently is, the expansion state means is it expanded, is it not expanded, and then the interaction state is what state is your mouse doing with it. Like, is it hovering, is it clicking the actual button, is it at rest, or are you not able to interact with it? That's basically what the different interaction states are. Okay, so once you have this, you can choose to do something, it's like to the icon as well, so that, when you actually selected the selection icon, let's say feature. And one thing that you'll see is that right now I can click on advanced, I can click on selection state, unselected, and interaction state hover, and I'll make this white. And this means that now I can see that the, it's like selection icon is there, but even on the selected item, it's not affecting that. So this is kind of really nice. They've, it's like the team's taken a lot of care to make sure that the states are really as you would like them to be. Now, let's go into shape. It's kind of weird that shape for buttons is its own little thing, but we can make this rounded rectangle and maybe make it like a size 12. And then you can see that now we have like the buttons are like a nice like pill shape, which I like quite a lot. So this is all we're going to do for the actual features, and we're going to continue onwards with the actual images. Okay, so one thing that I will say is a little bit of a bummer is that if you click on the Cartesians themselves, everything gets selected. So there's no way to force select a lower level, because that wouldn't really make sense, right? What if it's like you were closed? How would you force select one item? So that doesn't necessarily make sense. But nevertheless, it's like it is possible to select multiple items by just clicking the upper hierarchy. Okay, so let's say we have labels selected. We're gonna go into, well, let's close shape. Let's close selection icon. We're gonna go into images, the nice meat of the actual report or visualization. We're going to apply settings to the category because we don't want to mess with the feature level anymore. And we have on state all. What I'm going to do is I'm going to select, okay, let's do this. We're immediately going to start with the advanced. On the category, selection state is unselected. What we're going to do for all states is to put in the category icons unselected into the image. Now, this is a little bit weird. Okay, wait, hang on. Maybe I need to go back and I'll put it to, yeah, no, this is fine. For the selection state unselected, we're going to put in the unselected image. And here we're going to make sure that the image fit is going to be fit, not fill, or normal. Normal is the best in my opinion because it keeps the aspect ratios. And if you put it here and you go back and put the series to all, then you can change the image area size. So I like to put it at a nice like 15% or something. And this is completely fine by me. You could make it even smaller to like a maybe 10%, and it's like the image does get a little bit smaller. It's a bit of a shame that we're not able to set the spacing. or at least that I've been able to find, but this works just fine. We'll go into our series category and then put our selected state. And in our selected state, we're going to put in the category icons selected. And that way, what should happen is if partitions is selected, then this, it's like it is actually visible. And we have to make sure that it's set to normal as well. Now, the problem here is that if only one item is selected, you don't see the actual icon. So this is a little bit of a problem. So the way that you actually resolve it is you go into selection state all, and then here you put the icon selected as the field and make the image fit to be normal. So this means that if it's not selected at all, then it will show up as, it's like the unselected image. But if it is partially selected, then you will have, the actual selected icon. This is a little bit weird, and I'm not 100% sure, I think it might be the mixed state. So instead of putting the all state, you could put it into the mixed state. So at this point, it's mixed. It's not selected, but it's also not it's not completely unselected, and that will give you the mixed state. So we could test that out very quickly. Just remove the image from the selection state is all, and in the mixed state, we're going to put in the category icon is selected, and then you can see that that's exactly what happens. But it's like even if I put in the all state, because I have specific it's like values on the selected and unselected, you can actually it's like change it this way. But the mixed state is this actual one where only one or maybe 2 or 3 different items are being selected. So now that we have that, we're going to go into selection state all, and then interaction state hover. Once we do that, we can throw in our hover like measure, which is going to say if you're on Cartesians, show us the multi-cluster GIF. Otherwise, if you're on the callout visual, show us the callout GIF. And that means that we should technically on hover see this move. That's not actually happening for us right now, which is a little bit of a shame. The way that we actually need to it's like fix this is that we need to go into the selected state, and on the hover here put in the actual it's like hover, as well as if you go into the selection state and set it to mixed and put it on hover, then you're going to start getting the actual values that you want. And then you can see that there's this little GIF. I think it's something that you have to put into every single selection state that you use. So I've used unselected, I've used mixed, and I've used selected. So I need to go into all of these and then select hover and put in that hover. So now even if it's selected, when I hover over it, we can see that it's actually it's like clicking. But you can also see that if I put it into mixed and it's like it actually goes into hover, this isn't going to do anything else other than this. This is fine. I'm very happy with the way that it works, but we can make this a little bit cleaner. So if we go into our callout visuals, you'll see that when you hover over the actual button as well, it changes color to be, to show that this is something you can click on. So let's do that here as well. All we need to do is go into our callout values for category, and then on category, on hover, when you are in an unselected state, go to hover and set that color to be the color that we're using for everything. Color here, okay? And now you can see that on callout value, when it's not selected, it actually it's like changes color as well. We can even make it bold so that it's a little bit more prominent. I think this is nice, and we could even go to category selected and make that bold, or category mixed and make that bold as well, so that now when it's selected, you have Cartesians. You can click callout values, and when that's selected, it's bolded as well. Or when a specific item is being selected, it's just being bold. And that honestly is it. There's really not too much to, it's like making something like this, it's like work, and it's way faster than the previous, it's like way where we had to, it's like set different states, make sure that each bookmark was, it's like selecting the right number of things to be able to, it's like make it work. And I really hope that you use this inside of your own reports. The main thing to make sure is that if you have images, you want to convert them into a base 64. I really recommend using this website. It's free. It's it's like great, and I use this all of the time. And if you have icons and you want to use something animated, it's like check out this website if you'd like. I think you do have to give credit to this website when you use it, but still, it's free and they have some really awesome animations. So thanks for watching. I really hope you learned something new today. If you're interested in learning more content from myself, I really recommend that you check out my Power BI classroom, which is called Power BI Park at school. And we have basically over 15 different reports and around 33 hours of different, it's like content, which is actually twice the amount of video content that I have on my YouTube channel. So thanks for watching. Take care.